Good evening. It's good to have you with us. A jam-packed hour ahead for you here, the last hour of today. So let's get started. Convicted murderer Ntuthuko Shoba will know in May this year how long he's going to prison for. Many have celebrated his conviction for the premeditated murder of his then-girlfriend, Tshegofatso Pule. She was pregnant when she was killed. So how do those close to Pule remember her? What kind of a person was she? ENCA's Silindelo Masikane has been talking to her family and friends and joins us now for an update. Silindelo, I was saying to you in our conversation earlier on that I like the storytelling that you are engaging in, and this is not flattery in any way. It is about getting us to know Tshegofatso Pule outside of the realm of being defined as Ntuthuko Shoba, Mzikayise Malepane's victim. This is a person that we are getting to know. So tell me about the conversations you've been having with Tshegofatso Pule's family about her.
Of course, her name made headlines back in June 2020. In fact, we were still around the hard lockdown at that time, and her murder really sent shockwaves throughout the country. The brutality of it, I mean, an 8-month pregnant woman, 28 years old, found shot and hanging from a tree is not something that I think South Africans expected, especially around that time. And it just showed us that there's still quite a lot that's very wrong in our society, that we could have a woman so brutally murdered. But of course, Tshegofatso Pule was not just someone's victim, like you said. She was a sister, she was a daughter, she was a friend. She was loved by many in her community, grew up in Meadowlands. In fact, had quite a difficult childhood. Lost both her parents, at a very young age. And so her relatives, her family took her and her siblings in and raised them as their own. You know, as Africans, we raise our children as if we're in a village. And so she grew up to be a bubbly, humble, passionate young woman who had a zest for life, who liked the finer things in life, but also who had a passion for beauty as well as clothes. And so her family say that despite all of this, she was also quite secretive as well. But let's just take a listen to what her aunt had to say.
She was a happy child and bubbly, a child who loves fashion and very clean. Like her mother, she liked clothing. Tshego will never go for something that was sold for 50 rands clothes. She was very expensive. Very expensive. But the most dangerous thing about Tshego is that she was very secretive. She was not this child who will come to you and say, I have a problem. Even if she was in pain, she will still smile. You will keep on asking, Tshego, is everything okay? She will say, yeah, I'm fine. But as a mother, you will see that today is not like yesterday. Today she's not like last week. Something is definitely going on. But she'll keep on saying, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, secretive. I mean, who isn't?
At that age,
a
right?
young person
Yes.
is not so secretive. Many more parents would want to know a bit more about their children. I was making this point last year when we were covering the murder of Nostelo Mtebeni that fought her student, that it would have been great to get to know her. She was a law student, if I recall correctly, to know her as this promising future constitutional court justice. But of course we were robbed of that because of the crime situation, the gender-based violence situation we have in our country. Tell me about Tshegofatso Pule's career ambitions and goals.
So we know that Tshegofatso Pule had this love for fashion and beauty. In fact, her loved ones describe her as someone who was very futuristic in her fashion. Some of the styles and trends that we see being done now, Tshego was doing them years ago, in fact. And one of what was quite interesting is that when she fell pregnant, she was madly in love with the father of her baby, but who was not very invested in the pregnancy. And so what we know from her family and friends is that she was looking at starting her own makeup business, you know, possibly doing, you know, home calls, as well as just starting maybe a possible makeup brand. And she was starting to learn to be independent outside of depending on the father of her child, which is why when the first initial plan to have her killed, which was to have a meeting for a makeup job at a restaurant in the south of Johannesburg, that was kind of intriguing for her. But her friends and family warned her that it doesn't seem like this is legit, it seems like a scam, which is why her life was particularly saved on that day. But she really had a passion for beauty and makeup, and so that's what she wanted to do with her life. Let's take a listen to her aunt once more.
Tshegofatso was very futuristic in everything that she did. She was a fashionista, of note for that matter. So I mean, right now, a lot of things that are coming into fashion are things that Tshegofatso would have had long ago. And she was very snobbish about and very picky in her choices, right? And so what she was doing, I know when she left MAC and she was pursuing her dream of, you know, owning her own makeup business, you know, then I was helping her with the marketing. I used to find her clients and I would call and say, Nana, I've got something for you, you know. And she was very grateful. She was very graceful with it as well, you know. She was such a perfectionist. And, you know, everyone whose face she touched always wanted to come back. So the biggest thing for her that she wanted to do was to make sure that she made her mark with, you know, as a beautician and as a fashion guru. That's definitely what she wanted to do.
Cicely, in reflection, what's emerging to be the main lessons that young women and young men in this country, at least from the perspective of Tshegofatso Pule's family, can learn from this situation? It's
very difficult because for Tshego's family, you know, they barely knew a lot about her personal life. Who she was seeing, you know, her aunt even expressed that the first time she met Ntuthuko Shoba was her insisting because Tshegofatso was being picked up by him after her aunt's 60th birthday party, and she said to me, I wanted to see who is leaving with my daughter so that if anything happens to her, I know who she is. But she said what's most troubling is that it doesn't matter how much you know somebody. In fact, it could be the closest person to you who ends up ending your life. In this case, it was Tshegofatso Pule's life. So she says that there really needs to be a deep reflection. Men need to look at each other. Men need to call each other out. Men need to stand up against gender-based violence, obviously, but also take lessons from this situation. Everyone in society should take lessons from the situation that, you know, you never really know somebody, but you can only hope that the person that you're sleeping with isn't going to be the one who's going to end your life. Let's take a listen.
I wish men can be taught that, you know what, women are also people. If there's anything we can do is come together and meet each other halfway. Maybe as mothers, there's something that we have done wrong. I don't know. Maybe we should teach our boy kids, you know, different and respect. But unfortunately, we don't see the world with the same eyes. But, yeah, we need a strong message that will go to men as well as go to women, because something is just not right.
Silindelo, thank you for that reporting. I must say, one of the things that I appreciated that the family of Tshegofatso Pule did was to ensure that in all of the technicalities of state versus, you know, Ntuthuko Shoba, the prosecution, the defense, etc., she's not lost in that story. They were there on a daily basis and continuously telling her story throughout. It can't have been easy, but it was something that was important for them.
Certainly so, Tulas. I mean, it's been a difficult 2 years for the family. Finally, we have a judgment on the case. We're now just looking forward to the sentencing proceedings in May. But for the family, what happened yesterday with the judgment was really just confirm what they've always believed, that Ntuthuko Shoba had their child killed.
All right, that's ENCA's Silindelo Masikane. Look out for more of her reporting on that story, reflecting on the trial that just ended of Ntuthuko Shoba, who masterminded the killing of Tshegofatso Pule.